Hi friends, I'm Les Mood, your host. Welcome to the Destination for Innovation series brought to you by the City of Bakersfield and GreenTech Network. Today we're actually at City Hall in Bakersfield and we have a special guest with us, Kathryn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Kathryn, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe something that the world doesn't know about you?
So I'm Kathryn Beros. I am currently a grad student at Columbia University in the Sustainability Management program. I am also the founder of KAP Industry, an agri-voltaic solution provider that is working to expand agrivoltaics across the United States as a water conservation solution. Something completely unrelated to all of that is I am a huge Linda Ronstadt fan, and when I was 9 years old, my mother and I were having a night and listening to Canciones de mi Padre, and managed to explode a light bulb while singing out La Chareada.
Wow, that's like, that takes like opera level skill to break them to get it.
It was very loud, yeah.
Well now you're doing amazing things in the industry and you're older. In terms of what you're doing now in the agri-PV industry as a student with your KAP industry, where would you say your journey began?
So my journey began in fall 2021. I had just started the program at Columbia and I joined a group of 7 other grad students. We were working on a policy proposal for the administration of a municipality in India on how to increase the groundwater table by 5 meters in 5 years. Now in this region, 90% of freshwater resources were being used for agricultural purposes. So any solution that we brought to the table had to be inclusive of agriculture. So it was during that time that I learned about agrivoltaics. And so before I go any deeper into that, I'd love to just define agrivoltaics. What we're discussing here is the application of solar photovoltaic panels above active cropland. So it's fully integrated with the operations. It's not next to or in an adjacent field. You've got crops growing underneath the panels. And what was so interesting that I learned about agrivoltaics in the context of this project was when applied in areas where crops are facing heat stress, you're able to see a decline in water consumption and an increase in crop yield. So we pulled that information and consolidated it for the administration, and their reaction was similar to mine of, this is incredible. This is a solution where the farmers can maintain their operations as is, and we can start to make progress on our water conservation goals.
Wow, you're already doing amazing things and that you can point to. What are you doing these days to advance a better world?
So now I'm working with KAP Industry and sitting between farmers and solar developers as that intermediary to customize projects that focus on farm operations. But what I'm most excited about is to share that I'm going to be leading a project with the City of Bakersfield, doing a market analysis of the potential for agrivoltaics within Bakersfield.
So in terms of your journey so far, could you point to some struggles and maybe some triumphs associated with those that people could learn from?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot to do. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot of competing priorities. There's a lot of noise in the world, and there's a high degree of urgency behind everything. And on top of that, there's a high level of interest to get involved in everything. And that's definitely one of the bigger challenges I see in terms of being successful and achieving everything that we as a global community seek to achieve. What I have found in terms of a triumph has been getting so specifically granular with what it is that I'm going to do, because that's when I start to see success. And that's when I start to see tangible results that give me hope, but also can be like a mosaic. a little piece that adds in and sits with what someone else is doing. So rather than it being, I have to do everything, there's, I've got my mosaic, you've got your mosaic, and now we've got this beautiful like wall of art.
Amazing. Actually, I remember one of my professors telling me, I was lamenting, like, what am I going to do? Well, just do something. You don't have to do it. And I thought that was like really, like that took a lot off of my shoulders at the time. So for the community, the GreenTech community, maybe this community, the world, do you have some advice that you would like to share?
Advice that I would share would be to listen, to reflect, and then to just get out there and do it. I think that something that has been really helpful for me is letting go of I'm very shy, and like putting myself out there is not something that I'm huge on. And the more that I have been doing that and the more open I've been to receiving others, the more success I've seen and the more positive outcomes that I've seen. So I think my advice would be to trust yourself and go for it.
Awesome. I love that advice. And speaking of going for it and having an open mind, this next part of the series is a thought experiment, more so of like, hey, there's roadblocks and hurdles and things standing in the way, but let's think about some of the possibilities. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, what is some of the low-hanging fruit that people or society could bite into to make the world a better place?
Conversations. That is the easiest thing to do and yet also the hardest thing to do. I think the more conversations that we have with those next to us, those who we see as being different from us, and when I say conversations, I don't just mean talking, I also mean listening. And getting those conversations going where you can understand, relate, and empathize with the person sitting across the table from you is the easiest thing that we can do and will have the highest amount of impact. Because through those conversations, then you can start to generate ideas and then get those ideas to then move up into policy and then get those policies to then move into implementation. And the next thing you know, you have this beautiful world in front of you. So conversations, hands down, listening and engaging with those around you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's why we're here, to connect, collaborate, and create. And so thank you for having this conversation. Again, in terms of bigger challenges and opportunities, what are some things that we should not ignore?
So one, there's policy, right? And there's huge opportunities in California around creating and passing policy to support agrivoltaics and projects that are going to really sit as a solution for multiple groups and not just speak to one singular group, but going away from that and thinking about just like issues in general. This is gonna seem pretty obvious because we're speaking in the context of California, but when I look at a global stage, I'm constantly hearing carbon, I'm constantly hearing emissions, and that's great, right? We need to be working on carbon emissions and lowering the greenhouse gas emissions globally. Water needs to make its way to the global conversation. In California, we know that water is a critical issue. And it's not just about, am I gonna shower tomorrow night? It's not just about, am I gonna be able to drink water? It's about, am I gonna be able to eat? Am I gonna be able to have cotton to make the clothes that I wear? Am I going to be able to have bananas? Am I gonna be able to have lettuce for my sweet green salad? Like all of those things are all integrated and an impact from water. And okay, you're sitting in a wet climate, but what you're eating most likely is not coming from where it's raining. So we need to be talking about water on a global stage. I get really passionate about water, I'm sorry.
That's why you're here, actually. And the nexus between water, energy, and ag is really important, and I agree. It's really one area. And in that area and solving some of these big challenges, what role do you see community playing in that?
So I see community playing that role around conversations, being the instigator of creating the connections of what do we need as a community and how do we want to get there. And then I see the role needing to increase. Right now, the way I see a lot of things happen is big corporations are making decisions, and whatever their marketing needs are for whatever disclosure is what feeds and creates the demand of what has to happen on the ground. A lot of that is discussed and decided without local communities present at the table. So I see, one, there's communities needing to talk within themselves, but two, the role of communities at a higher level needs to change and expand to having a seat at the table of those decisions that are being made about those communities.
In terms of when you're looking back on your legacy, or you got a long ways to go, but in terms of what you're doing now, what would you like to see happen as a result of your efforts?
So the first thing I want to see is I want the beautiful crop agrivoltaic project in California that spotlight everybody can look at as the lighthouse of what agrivoltaics in California, what agrivoltaics in the United States can and should be. Beyond that, from a more, what is the word?
Holistic?
Not metaphor, but from just a point of view.
Okay.
Beyond that, what I'd love is to leave behind resilient cities with communities that are strengthened and full of joy.
Yeah, I think food and energy and agriculture just has a role in doing that, bringing people together and bringing joy. So I think that can happen with your project, and I'm super excited about that. And in terms of bringing people together and energy transition, some people call it transformation and evolution. Do you think it's possible to have a just and equitable energy transformation? And if so, how?
So I don't. And the reason why I say that is I don't under the current systems and structures that we have in place. That doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can and should be doing. And one of the things I referred to earlier was around ensuring that local community groups and local voices have a seat at the table. I think that will go a long way in building the capability for us as people to have that transition. Without that, you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to be equitable, it's not going to be just. As long as you are not including those voices and those experiences, you're not going to be able to achieve that. So I'd say the number one thing, and the way that we can get as close as possible to that, is by listening, creating space to listen, and then don't just listen, act. Take that information and hold it as your own and act upon it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in terms of action and the reason you're here, we're here for the Destination for Innovation thanks to the City of Bakersfield. And we're talking about agrivoltaics and your project, which is really exciting. I'm curious, in your view, what role or opportunity there is for Bakersfield to play as the destination for innovation as it relates to this technology.
I mean, I see Bakersfield as being that hub for agrivoltaics, not just demonstration sites, but learning, creating a job workforce around agrivoltaics. And that's not just on the energy side, that's not just on the farm side, it's on both sides. There's going to be opportunity created from these projects. And it's going to require capability building. It's going to require many different types of jobs to be filled. So I see Bakersfield as being that hub, not just for leading California in achieving its water goal, leading California in achieving its water conservation goals through the application of these projects and other solutions, but also in leading California and the rest of the country in upskilling the workforce and creating jobs for those to join in on these projects. Then on top of that, I see Bakersfield as being the leader in creating resiliency for farm workers who are facing fallowing of land due to water concerns. And I think I'm going off and on and on and on now, but I see so much. And I'm just really excited for this project, and in having conversations with the team at the City of Bakersfield, why I'm so excited about this project with the City of Bakersfield is because of the team at the Economic and Community Development team and how engaged and committed they are in turning Bakersfield into that lighthouse for this type of work and projects.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm thankful that you're here to participate in this and to bring some of this innovation to Bakersfield. I'm very excited about the project, and I believe it'll be very impactful for the community. So thank you for putting your confidence in Bakersfield and making this place for your innovation.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm very excited for what's to come.
So where do people reach you, and what would you recommend as far as social media?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn, and then KAP Industry you can also find through the website. That's kapindustry.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. Really excited to see this project come to fruition.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here on the Destination for Innovation. We will see you next time.